The Bad Seed Tactile switches are from the YouTuber and keyboard enthusiast Brian from the channel BadSeed Tech. The switches are long pole, sharp, tactile switches with the actuation weight of 63.5 grams. Who are the BadSeed Tactiles made for? Gamers? Typists? Or are they just branded YouTuber merch? The reason for the long pole is to shorten the travel distance of the switch. This is because the pole is directly underneath where the keycap mounts on the stem. For the BadSeed Tactiles, the long pole complements the sharp and heavy tactility. Right after the short bump, the long pole makes the bump feel like it's cut off right before bottoming out completely. So there's absolutely no post-travel to the switches. But how do the BadSeed Tactiles feel when gaming? If you're looking for a lot of feedback and a good response feel, that's what these switches provide, despite what is considered a heavier weight of 63.5 grams. Yes, there is an extra 0.5. This, I believe, is due to the already available spring selection from the Prevail Key Company who makes the switches. The combination of a smaller travel distance, sharp tactility, and a relatively heavy spring makes the BadSeed Tactiles feel snappy after the actuation. This can make it feel great for keeping a rhythm in beat games. You can also preload the switch a little in FPS or MOBA games, while making it hard to accidentally click adjacent switches, as the hump sharply increases in weight, so you get sharp tactility without being clicky. In typing, the BadSeed Tactiles can feel a little too tactile and heavy, given when I touch type, I'd normally swipe the keys while moving to the next letter. I found that using this technique, coming in from speed switches causes issues where I wouldn't actuate a key, but was aware that I missed, given I didn't feel any feedback. This isn't as much of an issue when I change into striking the switches. However, this makes the keyboard feel come into play much more. So if you have a much stiffer keyboard, bottoming out can feel like smacking the table directly. Having a deskpad or keyboard mat would help alleviate the hard bottom out, since they are pre-lubed and I haven't noticed any variance, so it's consistent and there is no pinging. It's not really a beginner switch due to its heavy and excessively obvious tactility, which people starting in the hobby might find too hard to press. And that's also just looking at the specs of 63.5 grams in comparison to the 55 grams of most mainstream switches. And after the bump, it feels like falling into an abyss of no return before abruptly bottoming out, making it concerning for beginners as when bottoming out, the switches feel like they stop just before the end of the bump, potentially feeling wrong, despite that effect being intentional and normal. Also keep in mind that they are very loud, horrible in an office environment. And if you go back to Cherry Browns, you might as well go try linear switches. For enthusiasts that want to try things out, the BadSeed Tactiles are much sharper tactility from switches like the Glorious Pandas and the Zelios, the bump feeling like a fresh new speed bump on the road, while the BadSeed Tactiles feel more like hitting the curb head on than hitting a wall immediately after. The crash being a nice loud, clean, marbly sound with little hollowness, and no spring ping, in my batch at least. So here's the quick sound test to judge for yourself. Feel-wise, the factory lube job is consistent. There is very little scratchiness when first breaking them in, and after a couple of days in use, the scratchiness is practically non-existent. You might need to get used to bottoming out faster, even compared to speed switches, but this makes the BadSeed Tactiles feel very responsive, while not being actually any faster or slower than switches from gaming brands like Glorious, or even speed switches, and being much more tactile than typing-focused switches like the Zelios. The BadSeed Tactiles can be fatiguing for lighter typists, but great for typists that heavily strike keys. But if you want tactility without the loudness, check out this video, like the video, and subscribe for more tech reviews with gaming and productivity in mind. Hopefully a silent version is possible in the future.